also has the tyre marks going to be formed as well going into this super soft event today. That is a big story. James Courtney is also there alongside Dave Reynolds. James Golding, what a story for him at Mount Panorama together with Cam Waters winner on Saturday here last year. And then we've got Matthew Payne and Chaz Monster. These guys put on such a show in the top 10 shootout the first night and throughout the run so far. And how is the intensity to get that pole position for Ryan Wood by a tiny margin over Knoxville? And for Ryan Wood, the second Boost Mobile pole in 2025, he also did that at Barbagallo Raceway at Western Australia earlier in the year. So, Mark, can he get on with the job? History suggests that if you do start at the front, you'll be in pretty good shape.
Absolutely. Last 8 races at this facility, someone from the front row has won the race. So for Feeney and Ryan Wood, that bodes well.
The time pressure is on, and I think there's going to be not only extreme pressure today and tomorrow for the twin 250k races, but when we get to the semi-final at Sandown in Melbourne in Springvale, the same's going to apply as we eliminate those that continue to qualify for the grand finale presented by BP when we get to Adelaide at the back end of the championship. If you're a casual viewer of Supercars, we've got an entirely different format and structure to determine our champion in 2025. The simple version of a long story is that we got through the sprint phase of the championship and then our enduros. It's a reset with the points. The top 10 runners have been condensed. There's not much margin, only 154 points between first and 10th. There is Nick Burkett with that trouble that I described earlier. He'll start from the pit lane. What does that mean? Well, it's equaling pressure. Our story so far, if you're just catching up with all the news here on the Gold Coast, Brody Kostecki, the Battler's pole sitter, slammed the Shelby Power Mustang into the wall. They had some thunder damage on that car and it went under the front left tyre. And that car's gone back to the workshop for some open heart surgery. And then there was more contact. This time it was the reigning champion, Will Brown, through the beach, all crossed up sideways, slammed it into the wall. They're working hard on that car and have been working hard on that car in the interim. But this was a supreme performance. Managed to get out the other side there, Mark, was a modern miracle.
Wow. And I heard Bruce Stewart say earlier today that Kiwis don't fly. Ryan Wood was certainly flying through the middle of there. That was a monstrous effort for him to get his second career pole. What about Rob Feeney? He went from 9th in Boost Mobile qualifying to 2nd, so he had a real push forward with that quality of lap that he put together.
That served him well. Yeah, that was the biggest gain, and that's the sort of stuff you want to be able to do in the shootout. The speeds were down a little in the shootout, in fairness. A little bit more cloud cover and the track condition changed. There'd been some support categories on earlier in the day that had certainly changed the surface, a little bit of cleaning up going on here and there, but it also is so different in its rhythm because you go out there from a standing start effectively and put together your lap. You don't have the ability to get a feel for the track or a second lap to get your tyre temps and pressures up. That's all behind us now as we start to focus on 85 laps, 250 kilometres. They will feel it out there today.
No doubt. And one of the real keys, because when you're by yourself in qualifying, you've got maximum visibility around this. Young Kai Allen, what an extraordinary job he's done this weekend. He's never been to this facility, never driven around here, only on the simulator. So he has performed superbly so far. Things around. Just a little move up there, you want to be right in the box.
Spots, clearly the chicane at turn 1. Yep. The very slow 50-odd km/h head in at turn 4. Yep. The wild run at the big chicane on the first lap where right of way's got to be sorted when you get to the 150 marker there on the way in. Yep. Who has right of way? Who's on the left? Who's on the right? How close is that call going to be? And you know year in, year out at turn 11, up that Pinot turn there, the left-hander, there's always trauma. The opening lap around here is all about surviving. It's the elimination final, and an historic moment for Supercars as our finals commence on the Gold Coast. What a bad jump for Ryan Wood. It looked like it had a little bobble, but it's tractioned in nicely here. He's put power to the road, grabbed gears, and off he goes into the first chicane. Nice solid start for the Kiwi. He's got a couple of car lengths. Feeney drops in behind him, and here's where all the congestion unpacks and unfolds. Covers down the inside, does Wood. He's under threat here from Feeney, and in fact, I reckon Payne might have got up underneath Feeney. That'll be close.
Yeah, there's not much in it now. And the run down to the big chicane's the one you were talking about. Two teammates here, Tim Pasquale and Reynolds. Remember, Tim Pasquale is in the finals, and Reynolds just let him pass, so that's a big move straight away.
Will Brown just sorting out that right away business that I just spoke about as Ryan Wood again covers into turn 11 as he's waiting for those tyres to come up to tempered pressure to give him the security to go back to the regular racing line. We've got Wood, Feeney from Payne, from Boston, from Golding, all line astern at the northern end of the racetrack. Velocity of the cars down there is impressive. It's a 160 km/h straight into a highly complex break. And that was close forward because when he got down there, the thing got away from him and he had to catch it. He did though, and he got out the other side, fortunately, without any trouble.
It did look like that was going to be a big part of the story. And he got through. Oh, God, he's aggressive over the turn 9 section. The right-hander of the fast speed chicane. He's been the most aggressive all weekend. And the guy behind him has probably been number 2 in the ranking for that. Nothing in these first 4 cars now.
Rob looks like his
to the corner really nicely, and they come off the corner really nicely. That's why their cars have been so good here over the years. Oh, down the inside, Cam Waters just trying to put a move on Golding. James Courtney just having a look at that. If you're going to put the move on down there, you've got to be almost directly alongside.
So Golding's got a little bit of space between he and Monster. And that was a bit of an awkward entry into there as well, so he flew and got crossed up at the early part of it. Again, he's able to get out the other side, but it's allowed Waters to get an even better sniff at him on the run into the braking area there in the left-hander. Harry coming down the very inside, and that makes this left-hander hard down there, and he's got in the battle now for second because Feeney and Payne are well in a dispute here for supremacy for the second spot.
And Payne had a real run there at Feeney. He tried to get through the turn 2-3 section of the chicane and he wiped the left-hand mirror straight off the Penrite Mustang. So he was able to get through there and he was coming at him. So to your point, it just looks like Ryan Wood's been able to eke a little lead out and Payne's putting pressure on Feeney.
Stay with it and have a listen to this. Gives you an idea of what it looks like at 12 and 13.
Stanaway may have got a little gain there. That was the only guy that I didn't pick up earlier. I just said a second ago that he's made 6 spots. He probably made 2 or 3 there in the first chicane. But this is on board now with Brock Feeney. And getting them stopped and getting through here cleanly is really difficult now. Oh, that was a big slide. We didn't pick up on that, did we? So we didn't see that from the front, but that was a big slide. And a good gather up there by Ryan Wood.
That's about as close as you get to just ending up in that tyre bundle on the outside. It kicked the inside rear, so here's the story, unfortunately for Will Brown.
Watch this from behind. Bang! And again, that's 2 get out of jail cards there for Payne and Wood so far, hasn't it?
And that's the spot that caught Brody Kostecki earlier in the day, and that car's gone back to Dick Johnson Racing to resolve all of its traumas and try and get it back on its wheels, and up to Pace Engineering as well. They'll do some extra special work. Cover 62, Richie Stanaway exceeding track limits and gaining an advantage has been flagged by race control, which is what you call off that replay. Jack?
Yeah, I just spoke to Andrew Edwards, who is Will Brown's engineer.
Stable margin of 6 7/10 of a second up the feeding from Payne from Worcester. It's a bit of a watching brief all round here at the moment.
Fastest car on the track on the previous lap was Brock Feeney. Ryan Wood was actually 7th fastest. So a bit of a gain there from Feeney. He's only half a second behind Ryan Wood. So Ryan was able to get a little gap, and then the pressure from Payne come onto the back of Feeney, and he's responded with the fastest lap of the previous one. So he's got right back to the back of the truck assist Mustang. Ryan Wood now torturing to keep him behind. What was it leaking for fuel?
There was something for fuel.
Radio chat, and he's now lost 3 spots. He's still been to car 62 from exceeding track limits and gaining an advantage.
So there's something going on under the right rear of that thing, and as you heard in the background, Richie Stanaway has got a penalty for gaining too much off that straight line down at turn 1 off the start of the race. So whatever's gone on here has dramatically slowed this thing. There were some images before, there's something weird going on in the right rear corner of that car. It was first, is now fourth, Ryan Wood. Onto the tyre, unless it's glycol, it could be glycol as part of the water. He's in the pit lane.
Yeah.
Garth's lurking around this, so we'll try and get an understanding as to what's going on here. But this is seriously bad news for Ryan Wood. Bad news for his quest to remain in the top 10 and ultimately the top 7 at the end of the weekend. They've sent him
It's a giant pool of water.
Go, GT.
Fuel, so they didn't see it initially, and then when he brought the rims up, there's still fuel there. I'll turn around.
He's got just a little over half a second from Boston. It's a tiny cushion that plays under real pressure. Boston.
I was with these other two guys before we were jumping up.
So while we were heavily focused on this fellow who's about to come back into the pit lane, just a reminder that Richard Stanway got 5 seconds for his trouble for the way that he went down through the first chicane and made some ground at the start.
So it's still coming out of that car then. It's from the amount of usage, smashing it up under the bending of the car over the course of the weekend so far.
He's only a second from the lead, Chaz Monster. Fastest lap has been further improved by Brock Feet. He's done a 1 minute 9.7. Pretty even between these three at the moment, and they've still got a cushion over Goldie. And Thomas Randall, pretty loud on the radio as well at the moment, so it sounds like he might have something that he's wrestling here. G-Payne's good through that big chicane complex. Yeah, he's carrying a lot of speed through there.
If you think about young Ryan Wood, remember he was leading at Bathurst before the great sensor drama. So second race in a row for a mechanical drama for this young man for New Zealand.
I wonder whether something's occurred there in terms of the working on and reinstalling that tank.
The flag's fallen.
Yeah. And this is going to be an issue with this cladding. There's some cladding that's come off the debris fencing. Safety car boards and flags, safety car boards and flags. So safety car boards and flags, I think this is for the cladding, the signage that's come adrift off the side of the debris fencing on the way into turn 1. The Queensland Gold Coast side is into the fencing.
These 8 cars are all in, all in the final series, and they've all got 6 metre pit lanes. This is the tightest pit lane in the whole pit lane.
And water's potentially impacting Tom Brown there. That's all the way. This is a big moment here for Boston. It's getting held up big time. In goes Ryan. That's probably cost him 50.
Payne's got a that's a penalty, 100%.
Complete chaos.
cars parked.
hell, dude?
Alan parked to
Great
get
car
behind Payne, stopped Cam Waters originally getting out, and then as a consequence of Payne being able to get out, then the contact with Mostert Gar.
Yeah, absolutely right. So Payne was stopped next to the Monster car. That's where they all agreed that they're going to stop him. So Kyle Allen was in the right spot. Chaz Mostert wanted to get out. He ended up pushing Kyle Allen out of the way. Payne was slow out his
This is just a calamity.
This is a muzzle and a half.
The double stacking scenario here, when you've got one car looking to get back in,
And that's
two
Woodward.
other cars couldn't get out, and then finally the car that had a little issue runs into Mostert. This is Mostert now going bang, 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 and he's got. So you watch him on the clutch here. He's going bang, 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 push forward, push forward, push forward. Then he's in the fast lane. Then Payne comes out. So there's complete lunacy when all that unfolds in behind each of those bays.
And he was on the radio, you could see him shaking his head. So it was Belgian cars as a
I reckon Will will make up some spots out of that. He's still third. Hey, what? How the hell?
This is just basically take that down.
Probably.
So as the field comes back by with our BP Pulse safety car, field following by, the order has changed immensely because Feeney, who was the leader, Payne was in behind. It's now Feeney, Waters, Mostert, Payne, Courtney, Di Pasquale. So when I looked at who got hurt the worst, I thought David Reynolds was probably going to be hurt the worst. And he's only lost really 2 spots, so that's not too bad. Will Davison without any drama in his pit stop because obviously Brody Kostecki's not with us. Will's made some ground. He's come up to 8th as the WA crew work feverishly on the back of car 2. It's Justin Burns there. His father was a great engine builder, worked for Peter Brock for many years, and he's got a great lineage in the game. He's been in the sport for a long, long time.
So what this will be about now is that reference I'm making up about trying to classify 75% of race distance.
Fair enough.
He was out there, he had the start, applied all that, had catastrophes in, they'll rectify it. Remember that team did a mighty job of getting him back in the game of battles, which kept him in the final story.
Yeah.
And depending on anything else that can unfold today, it's not impossible that what they're doing now might get him back in the game.
So what was the number you said was a 16? So everything that should have gone well for him, qualified superbly, leading the race, he was doing everything within his power to do exactly that. Win, you're in. As a consequence, he's parked in the pit garage.
What's going on? Might as well. Quicker and easier.
So we've got a
Least the people there will be able to
issue down here on turn 1 that's being rectified. That's triggered a safety car. It's an unusual occurrence. So crews are working on that at the moment to get that sorted. Got Feeney's got control of the race from Cam Waters and Chaz Mostert. Meantime, he triggered a whole lot of unscheduled stops and there was an enormous amount of congestion. Pino helmet can hold onto your hat. It's a pretty wild ride, this one. And in all the congestion from the pit stops, that paint's been released and adjudged to have been an unsafe release in that push and shove that he had going on with Chaz Mostert. So that's to be dealt with. Meantime, unfortunately for the young fellow, had the pole, jumped off the line, did such an epic job to lead. Fuel coming out of that car for reasons unknown for us, clearly something going on with the fuel cell. And in some ways, if you try and look at this as glass half full, very lucky that when you consider the heat around the rear brake assembly on these cars, that car back in there, and they actually, race control brought it back in anyway. Excuse me, but safely back in and now being rectified.
Yeah. The other one, so we know why Kai Allen was back further because all the cars were double stacking. But I don't know why Goldie has got so many
Looks like they're about to try and get this thing back out, guys. There's all of a sudden a huge injection of intensity here. Looks like the rear window is about to get back on it and maybe pull off another Bathurst miracle, now a Gold Coast miracle.
Yeah, that'd be great. Try and keep him in the game here, and they'll be looking to bank 64 laps as a minimum. He's already 6 laps behind.
But I wonder what it really is.
Yeah,
I'm completely baffled by. So it might be a fitting from the top of the kerosene. So the capacity change you spoke of, it's got a leak as a consequence, Rihanna.
And to answer your question, Musgrave, about James Golding, in his pit stop, it was delayed. They had the gearbox hose was undone, so they've had to repair that during that stop. So that's what delayed him, and also made Richie Stanley have to stack behind him. So they're on an alternate strategy at the moment. They've pitted 3 times now under second car.
A gearbox hose, Ree. I don't know what that would be. How's that? But they're in there for 43 seconds, so obviously a serious problem to hold it. Because he was fourth before the stops, wasn't he, I think? So he come in fourth. In the stops, he come in fourth. So that's a really weird one. You know, we're about to go racing again, and now there'll be lots of action again.
Shot of those cars making their run into turn 1. It's going to be a hot, hard, heavy afternoon. 69 laps remaining. Already been action-packed on the Gold Coast as Feeney grabs gears and heads down the back straight with a bit of a cushion. Nice restart and good restart management. So straight away on the opening lap, he took the pressure away from himself by being able to do all this with near enough 3/4 of a second margin. But how's that for a sight of Supercars absolutely flying through that beach chicane?
And has his commitment on cold tyres. Huh? He arrived there at warp speed, thrown it across that curve at turn 9, kept it up where he's
as things are starting to settle down again, moving into the second lap on the restart. Big queue of cars. Also got James Courtney tucked in here as well.
Control attention team, stewards have imposed a 15-second time penalty to car 19 for an unsafe release.
Yes, so I was wondering, they flagged it and now they've had an opportunity to process it. So 15 seconds is going to be pretty painful here for this fella. That plummeted straight into the side of Chaz Boston and went out a pretty tough angle because he's travelling around the Red Bull tyres at the lane up there.
And I think that's why the severity. Jackson is off the chicane.
Oh, here it is. Oh! Shit. That wheel's not the whole way.
You talked about it on the restart with Colin tyres. They're diving in there so hard into that chicane now because they're coming out of turn 4 with a real clip. It's much quicker this year than last year. Supacars tyres got more grip, so they're riding up into this area of the racetrack with enormous amounts of speed.
Same as Will Brown.
Yeah. And so Jackson has been on several occasions this year is where the bomb drops. Just a spectator. Yep. Here it is from the other angle. Watch Cooper.
Oh, thank God.
And we can't steer it. We'll have steering damage. And that is going to be an enormous job. Nowhere to go. He's the next in the queue.
Hold on to the bloke behind it.
So there's flak dropping out of the sky everywhere here. Is that have a look at that as an image. Here it is again. So trips. Racing Brad's not well, by the way. He's not at the racetrack. He actually got cut off the hospital, and he's got a pretty severe dose of influenza. So he's not at the racetrack. He'll be paying to watch those images. Wow, that's a lot of damage, unfortunately, on this car. So good news is that young Cooper's okay. He put on a mighty show at Bathurst 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, his day here on Saturday at the Gold Coast has ended poorly. He's hoping they can get that car turned around and get back on his wheels for time.
Nearly there.
Inspiration there from Cooper. He's had to get his helmet and harness device, the neck restraint, off, and then he's just trying to get himself sorted to get out of this car. So he's going to have to do a bit of the NASCAR trick there because that door won't open. Obviously, there's something going with it.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
And he's struggling to find a way of extricating himself out of this thing and all the damage on the right-hand side. Job Stewart has just been announced as a permanent member of the Erebus team from next year onwards. And those two young guys did a remarkable job. You said before how well he drove the back. Both of those young men did.
Yeah, 4th and 7th being rewarded out of the Erebus Academy for his fine work. And another great news story for Matt Gandy, who like Kai Allen. So something in the water down there and a little like that. You can see the GRM logo on the front of the car. And a lovely thing for not only Heritage to do, but also all the teams that are out there playing the shock and sad by that loss.
Yes, certainly Barry did a great job there, and he ended up getting Dr. Ryan Story and DJR to help them with the decals here locally. So there were a lot of teams that helped and contributed. It was certainly Barry Ryan's idea, and Barry was very emotive as a consequence of how much Gary Rogers had done for him and for the sport over many years. Just a massive contributor to Australian motorsport. And through the course of 2024, he was also a real sensitive ear to Barry Ryan and some of the dramas that were unfolding at their team through that pretty tough season.
So pretty incredible work going on down here on the front of the SCT Logistics Centre in Camaro, run by Brad Jones Racing, and news that outfit's going to change in 2026 as well, and they'll go to Triple Eight Race Engineering, where they'll run a third Mustang for young Super 2 race winner Jackson Walls, who's going to be in the field next year. So that was big news that broke earlier in the week as well. There's quite a lot going on. The second time today, the BP safety cars got control of the field. Initially it was for a signage problem, but this one a little bit more heavy duty, unfortunately, because the remote and Kevin Murray got all crossed up in the chicane 24 and Jackson.
How wild is it there? Following cars through the beach again looks pretty full on.
Yeah, it's definitely full on. You know, you sort of just got to follow the leader, and you know, like I said, he didn't really do anything wrong. But once he touches the fence, we're all committed at that point, and you can't really avoid without creating your own accident. So yeah, it's just a shame.
Hopefully the boys get you back out there and you can get another finish.
Yeah, hopefully.
Thanks, mate.
Sorry, Neil. I was just going to put a full stop for you on the wood fuel drama. So, inside the cars, we have the fuel receptacle, right? Now, to get the fuel receptacle to 133 litres, because it was 121 at Bathurst, they pulled the balls out, and in here, right where you can see that little fitting there, there's a fuel displacement receptacle, if you like. It takes up about 750 millilitres to make sure the rest of the volume is what they want it to be. That's attached by what we call a Wiggins clip, which is quite a sophisticated hose clamp, if you like. That was not done up properly, or came loose, or whatever happened there, allowing fuel to spill everywhere. So that answers that question. Now, the other thing, gee whiz, I was down there on the pit lane when it all went pear-shaped with the double stacking. It was just hard to compute, but a couple of things I just want to quickly point out. I was trying to point out, I stepped down all the pit boxes yesterday, and this one, sorry, let me turn my texture on, stand by. This one, this one, this one, and this one, all happen to be finals contenders, all drivers in there. They're 6 weeks back here. So right here, back, just pivots, yep, gone. And that's what's chucked in. Yep. So it looked very similar to the Will Brown scenario up until right at the end.
because the Will Brown scenario was a sort of a lazy slide, and that's Randall looking back at Aaron Cameron.
Forward for that.
So Randall only just got through also, so have a look where Randall is. So Randall's the next car in behind Jackson Evans. So bang, that car goes in. We'll go straight back into the front. That's hit very hard. And Randall, who's going, oh, what am I going to do here now? He ends up being able to gather up and flick himself to the left and avoid any further damage. Car.
While we've been rolling around under safety cars, there's actually been a few cars come and top off the fuel. Jack Rock's beat him once, Nick Hergat's beat him once as well. Richie Stanaway just got platinum in the 3-foot pizza program. He's on 5, so they've been topping off trying to open up strategy for later race.
Yeah, that's not a bad plan sometimes to just hedge your bets, because if there are more safety car interventions and you put yourself in a better fuel position, then you can get a gain later in the day. Pay the price now, get a yield later on.
Let's go.
Racing one more time. A note passed to me as well that the figure was a slow from contact early on. So that was beginning to unfold and then ended up with that exclamation. Oh, he's run wide down there. Figgy was very wide down there at turn 4. That allows Cam to have a real nibble at him here. So he's high and low, trying to search and find a way around him. He's sweating on the back bumper of the Camaro at the moment. Run wide down there at turn 4, cost Brock a bit.
And here comes Waters, because he got a really good run off there. He might plunge himself down the inside. He had to cover. Straight away, Feeney had to cover. He parked himself in the middle of the road to try to disincentivise the move by Waters. But Waters very aggressive on this opening restart lap.
Because you have to be. You're going to try and Mostert having a look at Waters and simultaneously showing the possibility of having an attack down there in turn 4. So this is the contact that we think is the original trigger coming out of turn 4 with Aaron Cameron and Cooper Murray making contact, and that's unsettled that right rear Dunlop super some time. It's gone in a slow leak phase. And unfortunately, it's bitten him a little bit later on.
Forwards and flags.
Our third safety car of the day for
I need to go to the bathroom. I need to go to the bathroom. Can you hold this?
the racetracks increase the tempo. This might be a little bit of what Garth was talking about before, with people just topping off here. So forward Allen, Jones in the lane.
You got to take this. You got to get back up here. Your ticket.
I've been able to get back up here without them showing.
No. Pause it.
I can't.
3.5 litres a second is the refuel rate
Can I
for
take
BT
your
fuel.
No.
Fuel's all the cars in this field, and quite a bit of fuel then going in Kai Allen's car. Just keep a little mental note of that. It's a speedy car. It's taking a lot of fuel on. You'll hurt early on.
Pause
You
it
might get a bit of this back
and take it with you.
Yeah, guys, I just thought I'd have a quick look at Cooper Murray's car here on that tilt tray without showing too much of the sensitive information. I think this car will be back out next tomorrow. The damage is not that bad. It's literally just broken the suspension off at the end.